to get straight into the questions, but just for new people, exactly how we knew where to be, when, and why over the last few weeks, and really over the last month. But if we go to SPY, here's what we knew. It's like we knew when we got these weeklies getting pounded, and this was just beautiful stuff. And so I know the scenarios are new. All right, and so but you can see how things play out. So we knew when SPY takes this out, this is a 2, right? Anytime you take out one side of the range, that's a 2. And anytime you take out the other side of the range from a 2, that's a 2-2 reversal. All right, I want to be very clear about that. 2 up, 2 down, right there is a 2-2 reversal, right? Then we get destroyed. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. On the monthly, it also went 2-2 here, right? But then we recovered later, right? On the daily, we go down. And as many of you saw this week and the last week, if you've been with me, that we've been walking these triangles just through everything. It's fantastic once you understand these things. And I've been trying to stay on the 1 minutes and stuff like that, the 5, so you could see it all day long. And so we knew when we come up here and go, this, although this is green, people are like, it's a turnaround Tuesday. No, it's not. It didn't take out the highs. That's a 2 to the downside, right? So then if it was going to take this out, that was a 2-2 to the upside, but comes back in. Right? I'm going to slow it down a little bit. I know I get too excited sometimes. That's still a 2 to the upside. So, and if it doesn't take that out, it can still 2 up. But when it goes 2 down, 2 and a shooter, that's an actionable signal. This is your 2, 2, 2 reversal right here. Boom. Nailed that, right? And this is all on the nightly videos that we talk about. Then this goes 2. This was still 2 to the downside until it came back up. Inside day, 1, 2, right? Inside day to the upside, we had that. And then we came in and started coming into the Fed day, where it's 2 up, 2 up, 2 down. But then we got our 3, and that's an outside bar. It's very important to remember, once a 3, always a 3. Can't not be, all right? And that's also a broadening formation. It's a triangle. It has to be. And so for the rest of time, what that tells us is this is an important battleground, right? Because they're willing to pay, the buyers are willing to pay up over the previous range, and sellers are willing to sell below, right? So forever, we would want to know about that when we get back into that, right? Because they were willing to do it here. So this is always going to be important to us when we go back in time, and it's in the course, all right? Old outside bars, previous outside bars range, because this was a 2, took it down. Now, if we go back to the weekly for a second, I talk about training your mind to see things our way. Right? So although these 3 bars are not inside this because we took that out, we're inside these 2, right? And so when you train your mind to see things properly, how are we going to get outside of that or that? So basically all of this is inside a 2-week pattern, which gives you the potential inside month is what we're looking at right now. So I want you to be able to train your mind to see that, right? Because what that means is unless we get out of here, we're consolidating. Right, which means any new day, new week, new 60 can go right back the other way, right? We want to be aware of that, and that's why you hear me at the bottom of the hour saying the flip is coming. The flip is very important, all right? A new 60 is very important, especially in this environment. So if we go back to the daily, we go up, we go 3, here 3, 2, and so potentially this could have gone 3 all the way up and take it out, go 3, 3, but it just ran out of time. So we want to know that there's a 3 involved when we have a 2 that gets back into the range, because this next 2, we're looking to take this out, right? All it is just like that weekly, right, was a 2-week big bar. We're looking this to be a combination 3 to take this out, which we do. 2, 2 takes out the 3. Then we come up into here 2 on a Monday, right? And so the important part of a Monday is that that's the beginning of the week, and so you have the new 60s, new dailies, and weeklies all starting over again, right? So that's why you have turnaround Tuesday, which this actually was, right? Because everything that happens on Monday needs to be reconfirmed or negated on Tuesday. And so it's not just Monday, Tuesday. That's the second week of the month will reconfirm or negate the first week. The second month of the year will renegate or confirm what happened in the previous month. The opening 60 will reconfirm or negate during the day. And all this series sequence is what we want to know about. So then we got the 3 here. All right. And this is in the course. So if we take this, Remember, horizontal lines are not support and resistance. Ever, never, don't do that, right? That's not what I'm doing here. What I'm going to show you is that here, it's in the course, the highs of this triangle here, right, like this, if you go horizontally, we know triangles aren't that way. So you're actually back into this triangle, albeit higher than here, but this is where we know you are, right? And so a lot of times people want to try and catch the top and the bottom of the triangles, which is great, right? We can do that, but you don't have to do that. We just want to know we're back into that zone where there was a previous battle, right? Because then we look to come ripping back through it. So once you got into here, the high was 274.72, right? And you have this, the low of this, 274.36. You're back into this. So this triangle triggers this one, 3, 2, to get back into here, and we ran out of time yesterday. But we knew as long as we're in here, if this day goes 2, we're going right after that. Boom, take it out, right? Which we did. Then we take it on the shorter term time frames because when an outside bar is a broadening formation on a shorter term time frame. So we should be able to see it. We're definitely going to be able to see it when we go to shorter term time frames, right? So here, you can remember this here. The down, the higher high, the inside 60, the lower low, come up. And then once we took this out, right, here was our triangle here. But then we knew we're coming into a Fed day and starting over again. Lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. This is your outside bar, right? Let me shrink that down just a little bit so you can see it better. Right, so coming into the Fed day here, right, we were already starting the tight triangle. And so this is where people get chopped up, not understanding this. The triangle needs to get bigger. It will over time, right? And so when you look at certain things and you look at some of your trading where you're getting chopped up a little bit, what you're going to notice going back in time is you're trading the triangle way before it was really big enough to trade. And if you're getting chopped up, you don't have any more bullets to trade once it's time to go. So if you're in here, you can see this. This is an outside 60 right here, right? And this is an outside 60. And I'll get to all the questions in a second. So just want to get through this opening here. So outside here, this is an outside 60. Took it to the upside, 2. Then it went 2 here. Then 2 here, still didn't take it out, but we're looking for it. As long as I kept going 2, it's going to take that out. It did it. Right? Then it goes 1, inside, back up 2, 2, outside 3. Right? So if it takes this down, right, we're back into this, but we didn't. We go inside and go up. Take them all out. Then, hello, Fed day, 2, 2 reversal, 2, 2 continuation. Take out all the outside bars. Here, back inside. Right? And so then we come up 2, 2, 2, 2 reversal down, 2 down, 3, 2, right? But then once we get back into the triangle, we go back over and take this out, all right? And then we come up in here. So I don't want to get too involved in that, but one of the things that we want to do is use this information for equities, because the reason we want to trade equities and options on equities is because we have so much information on relationships and what they're going to do, right? So by that I mean last night here, what did we know was going? What did we know was going down, right? SPY. We knew we had the 3-2 yesterday, right? And we knew we were back into this thing. And if we take this out, we're looking to take that and that out, and that if we're lucky, which we got. Right, and complete that triangle. So at that point, last night in the video, what would we look at? We would look at Apple, outside day, took out the highs. So whenever you take out the highs, and remember the important thing about this, you don't have to do this and pick out the highs and the lows. Like I said, we want to get them ripping through the triangle. Apple comes down into here and triangles them all out and takes all of this just to slightly tick into new highs, which means anybody short got carried out. They're done. There's nothing left to be short against. Then you get the outside day. There's your 3-2 down in Apple, like I said in the video last night. 178.05, bam, right? And so you'll hear me say this, especially to new people, but everybody really, unless you get a really good handle on it. The nightly video, watch it the next night, right on the close, because you will see what we talked about and what happened and what you could have done, right? Because we were also looking at Boeing, All right, Boeing, slight higher high, outside bar, 3-2 down. And right there, that's 362.21, right? That's almost $13. If you got that entry and never got stopped out, which if you look at like the 60, once this thing started breaking and you didn't get stopped out, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to concern yourself with this stuff. Just let it go, right? So it's nowhere near coming anywhere near you are, all right? Then during the day, what had happened was sometimes people feel like, oh, we missed it. It's down too much, right? But we know where that triangle is, right? We know all those things we're going to take out, right? So at the SPY, we're looking at in here, right, on the daily. Take out at least that and maybe this. This is 268.77. So one of the things that's also in the course is simultaneous break right here. And 268.52, we had already done that, but this goes inside 15. And you remember on the headset during the day, I said, everything's going inside on the 15. If they start breaking, that's a simultaneous break because almost everything has full time frame count to the downside at this point. The good thing about this inside bar is, yes, we're going into the lows, but we're not doing it until we take that out, right? Because anytime you take out a lower low, you're at risk of getting triangled back up. So you can see here on the SPY, we also had this. The Rev Strat right here, 15er, goes up. Shooting star counters that. That's a 1-2 reversal. Boom, gone. Then the continuation of the 1-2 down, all that kind of stuff. And then later in the day, this is also in the course too, if you're just picking up on that. Here, the 3-2 reversal, which means with hammer or shooting star, because that's an actionable signal, right? 3 means you're back into the triangle once you get in here. 3, boom, hammer. We're looking for this thing to take this out, which it did handily, right? The good thing about volatility is that if people who've been with me for a long time that have not seen volatility in a long time since Brexit will tell you that it's hard to, the inside bar breaks aren't that significant in a low volatility environment. We need time frame continuity. We need the triangles, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it just goes 2 cents or does nothing, or rev strats on you. And in this case, this thing broke here, 164.20, and went down to 163.61. So at that point, there's enough time to get in, protect yourself, and as you see the market and things start to rally back, take profits and just get out, right? Because you know you're at risk of coming into these lows. That way, you have made some money, right? And you know what something is going to create. And we always want to be forward thinking. If something works or it doesn't, what's it going to create? So at this point, this could be 3-2 down, which is great. Once it starts coming back up, we also know what can that create? That can create hammer counters outside, and we can reverse and make even more on the upside, which you could do there. Another thing I just wanted to start off by addressing was the VIX products and what happened there, right? And what I said, and what's very important, because I know a lot of people got dinged on that stuff, and I feel bad about it because I've always talked about it and promoted talking about what to do. There's things that I will tell you to never do. Never hold a position against you. There's no need to do that, right? No one ever made money off a loser, right? And don't ignore the strategy. So here's XIV, rest in peace, right? And on the monthly, when this occurred here, this is a 2-2 reversal, right? This is a 2-2 reversal, up, down, 2, and you look at this, all right? Right back to the bottom of the old triangle, right? Sad as it is. And if you go to SVXY, in the weekend video, look at this, right to the monthly triangle. Now, how are you going to get out of this? This is a 2-2 reversal. And specifically what I said, because oftentimes I will post the videos for the public just because I like to help people, and that's how a lot of you know me. But specifically, what did I say? because I went back there to make sure I did not put any people astray on this. And what I said was in that weekend video, I said the lows of this is 110. This is a 2-2 monthly reversal. Unless you get over 110, then we'll talk. You got to get out of the way, right? Because we know what can happen to these VIX products if you've been doing this for a long enough time. And so at this point, people get complacent and start looking at these triangles. And what I did was, and so here, people start, freezing, and you don't want to do that. You just get out. Because if you look at the weekly, I had this triangle drawn in the video up here. In that weekend video, I said, if they want to get medieval on her, look for the high 50s. And they got even more medieval on her than we thought. But this triangle was in that video. I was very specific about that. And the reason you want to do that, not only to not get crushed, is that we ideally want this to happen, because what that means is that the trading environment is going to be great, right? If you get out, the trading environment is going to be great. You've seen what a great trading environment we've had, right, since then, right? You can make it all back and then some in no time once you know, because we know how to trade volatility. Most people have no idea what they're doing. They have none, right? And they don't know anything about these triangles and how to gauge magnitude. None. I mean, you'll see guys looking at SPY and being like, and thinking, thinking that, oh, this is a level I could buy. It's support. This is a support level. This is a support level. It's not true, right? You think there's a bunch of guys lining up to buy on low pivots? You're out of your mind. That's where the stops are. It's the exact opposite, right? Okay, so I just wanted to start off with that because that's some important stuff for everybody to know. So now we can get to the questions, because I usually don't like to just speak. I want to make sure that everybody's understanding things and answer your questions. That's why we're here. And okay, so for the outside candle, when it triggers, is it more powerful than the inside candle? Not necessarily. It just means a triangle's involved, right? It just means a triangle's involved, because everything matters, ICE. Everything matters. If you just look at inside bars and you just look at time frame continuity, you get crushed. You have to know where things are in a relationship to the broadening formation series, right? And so coming off, the good thing is a 3 is a triangle. An outside candle is a triangle in and of itself. That's good. So you know you have a triangle involved. But a measured move can be a 2, 1, 2 and be as powerful when you look at other time frames. So most importantly, always look at the multiple time frames. That's what makes this work, right? Monthly, weekly, daily, 60. And so in this environment, right, when you have elevated VIX, we can revert to that intraday, because the 60-minute is moving as much as a normal week, right? If not month, right? Like 2 months ago. So the 60 is really important as an intraday time frame continuity. You can break it down to the 60, 30, 15, 5 during high volatility events, right? So everything matters, guys. Don't be looking for one of these things to be the holy grail. They all are the holy grail when you put them together. That's the thing. Can I review the flip and how to use it? Yes. So on the bottom of the hour, and we'll watch the top of the hour too, right? You have to remember that 70% of trading is automated. All right, and that doesn't mean that they're trying to pick you off. Like most people think, that's not true. They're not that smart. They're just eliminating having a broker, right, and tell them, okay, buy, or what they do. So the bottom of the hour is also a liquidity event on a few fronts. The European closes on the bottom of the hour, which means they're closed. We're the only casino in town. Potential liquidity event. The crude oil closes on the bottom of the hour. And that opening hour is the most important. Even though CNBC will say the closing hour, most important hour of the day, that's not true. It's most important to your P&L, but not to what's going to happen in the future, right? What we can gauge in the future is that opening hour, right? Because we've got our time frame continuity from that. And that's the opening of the day and the 60, and then each 60 is going to reconfirm or negate like I was just saying, for the rest of the day. So what that means is the 60 is the only, it's in the course, the 60 is the only actionable signal that can form and trigger in the same day, right, on a major time frame, right? Because it can't happen on the day, it can't happen on the week. So when you come into the flip, we want to evaluate, right, as we come in at 15 minutes after the hour, we want to start to evaluate if this thing breaks either way, what might we want to be doing, right? And I want you to have a plan and stick to it. So it might also mean you pull back and do nothing. If it does that, I'm not doing anything. If it does that, here's my boys, right? So when you look for the actionable signals off the flip, you're immediately, if you have a 15 or a 30 or whatever, or a 5 or anything that triggers on the flip, you immediately have intraday time frame continuity in the 60 and an actionable signal going your way. So an inside 5 on the flip that triggers also triggers the 60 continuity, right? So we're always trying to evaluate, are things going to continue or negate as far as the S&P or the Qs or whatever is concerned, and what does that tell us on where we want to be based on all our research and what we're doing? Make sense? Bill, because for everybody too, the last thing I want people doing, good. The last thing I want people to do is smile and nod if I say something. If you don't get it, you got to get it. You got to get it. Like during the day, it sounds like I'm busy. If you don't get it, you tell me, right? Because when people are saying nothing, I expect that you're making money, right? I expect that you're making money. The last thing I want anybody else is to email me and say, "Oh, it didn't work for me, and I have no idea what you did, and I have no idea what you are," right? Who you are, what's going on, right? I can help you solve any problem. I just got to know what it is, right? Because this whole community thinks the exact same way. Not only can I help you, they'll help you, right? Because people have been doing this for years, and we all think the same way. And that's why you'll see comments come in and say, do this, do this, do this. This is what it takes. This is what it takes, right, to help me out. And never think that I'm too busy during the day to answer a question. Now, I can't teach everybody during the day, but I can certainly get to the questions. And as you've seen, if you've been with us for the last week or couple weeks with this volatility, been walking you right through the triangles of SPY all day long. All day long. I think everybody who's with me will vouch for that, right? How did it say so? Cindy, how did you know to draw the lower line defining the triangle off which it bounced? Okay, so things don't bounce because they can't, right? It appears that they do. How did I know to draw this line here? 1, 2, 3 lower lows, all right? And so, once again, you don't have to worry about drawing them as just knowing where they're going to be. So once you get below all this, then you're just gauging every 60 against this stuff. Right, so all I see is 1, 2, 3 lower lows. But I also go this because here, this is our first level here, because when I have this lower low put in, this was not a lower low. This was the low, all right, of recent lows. So in order to draw the triangle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the most recent higher low, that, right? This is lower than that, so this is the higher low here for the initial. Right? These just lined up, right? 1, 2, 3. So we had this as our first, and this is our second, and now we go inside and get stuck in there. But you don't have to concern yourself with being a master of drawing the triangles. You just want to know where they will be, and that's how we base those 3 bars, those outside bars, and all that. And a lot of people will take the weekend video. When I draw the triangles, you copy them. If you have a question, I'll do it for you. But as I said before, you don't have to know exactly where the bottom and the top is. I'll do that because ideally we want the beefy middle puker. Once we get back into that thing, here's where the beef is, right? Where's the beef? Middle o' the try. Okay, good. Okay. And Greg, let's see. When at the top and bottom of tries, do we need to be aware that it will expand or reverse? Oh, yes. Meaning always risking exhaustion top of. Yes, we want to be aware of that. And that's why if it's going to go, it's going to be 3-2, right? So we want to be aware of that. And that's why what conditions would it be in if it's going to do that? Full time frame continuity. If it's going to break out of the triangle, that's what you're going to see, right? So long as that exists, you got your break. And that's where the flip comes in important. It's like, okay, if we don't hold up here, this 60 starts going back and goes 2-2 reversal back down into the try, we jump ship and can reverse, right? Depending on when that occurs, right? Most people never look at the bottom. See this part down here on the chart? Never have no clue what this is, right? That's when things occur, right? And that's why I can tell you this was a Wednesday because that's Fed day, right? I can tell you all that stuff, right? When things occur matters, and anybody who's been with me for a while has realized that real fast. The flip, if you go into another chat room, you see somebody buying something at 24 after the hour, you're going to think they're an idiot. You got it, Greg. You're going to think they're an idiot. This guy's buying it 4 minutes in front of the flip. Ready, boom, bam, stopped out, gone. Right? You got to know when things occur matters. Okay. And so you're thinking properly. The thing is that we got a new month. We're just starting out. Right? I'm sorry. He's asking, like, do we go back in the try? We could. Certainly could. We're going to watch that tomorrow. Right? Here's the thing. We certainly could because weekly is outside. That's a 3. That can't change. Can't change. It's always going to be a 3. So being forward thinking, right? Here's the issue. We're an inside month, right? We would prefer to not be, right? And if we're not going to be, we would go 3-2 next week and get destroyed. Are we going to be aware of being outside of this next week? You bet we are. Because if we're back in here, we're going inside week. What does that mean? That means things are starting to tighten again. Right? And any flip is going to go right back the other way, chop you up. You get murdered. You get murdered in there, right? As you've seen in trying to trade a scenario 1. You get killed in there. It's doing nothing, right? The good thing is, even in this environment, doing nothing is doing something compared to a VIX at 9, right? We still got 300, 400 point moves, right? So if we stay inside month long enough, that's going to go away, right? And lull them to sleep again. That could be the good part. 400 point move, 300 point move, 200 point move, 50 point move. It's not doing anything. Oh, volatility's gone, and then it goes inside month, and then boom, right back. Right? So we're not going to say that's going to happen, but we're aware of that. Joseph, okay. Can you give us a little dictionary of the phrases you use during the day, possible action connected to it? For example, you say X is going inside in the 15 or Y is triangulating. I see it, but I don't exactly need to follow. Okay. What you want to be, when I say anything about anything, right, during the day, you're going to pull up your monthly, weekly, daily 60 at least to look at it, right? Was it in the weekend video? Was it in the nightly video? Is it on the sheets? What is it? Is this something that Rob's just trying to figure out what's going on, right? Or is he talking to me, right? Because one of the things that I do is I'm talking to a large community. There's a lot of people doing a lot of different things, right? So it needs to be specifically within your plan. If not, you're going to jump around, you're going to go nuts. You can't catch it all, right? The strategy is so vast and it works on everything, you can't catch it all, right? So when I say triangle day out, yeah, that's something you want to pay attention to, right? That means that that you're hitting the top or the bottom from triangle, and you would take a look at it and say, does it meet the other criteria? So most importantly, you need to have a battle plan. Everybody here will tell you that. Everybody in the VTF will tell you that. When you come in, what are you doing, right? Because if you come in cold and just try and jump around, you're going to get murdered, right? Now, some people can do that over time, which is the great part about the strat. You can branch out on this forever for the rest of time, right, to catch it all. But you need to initially have a focus on, I'm watching these right now. And if it doesn't kick in, it may be the gappers, it may be Dow Jones, whatever it may be. And if that's not working or it's slow, then you can branch out during the day when we go. Some people just watch the gap list or just wait for, the 60s to go inside, right? Stuff like that. So mostly the communication is directly to you. And what I mean by that is when you have a plan, a lot of the stuff I say will be blah, 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 until I talk about something that pertains to what you're doing. Now, the broader averages are always going to pertain to what you're doing, right? So anything I say about SPY Qs, all that kind of stuff, that's going to pertain. If you're watching a certain sector and I say something, that's going to pertain to it. So what you need to do is filter it out, right? Filter it out. Make sense? And tell me what you're doing. I got to know. Like I said before, I got to know what you're doing because I can't help you. Don't go down. Don't just go down. Make sense? And as we've done in previous recordings, you can look at just the gapper list. You can look at Dow Jones because the Dow 30, you can watch the 30 stocks in there. You can. There's a myriad of ways to do that. So if you need help doing that, I can help you do that too. If there's the nightly video and say I'm from the nightly video last night, I'm only watching Pod and Apple and Boeing. Bam, bam, bam. Right? There we go. 3-minute PSA. That's right. And I said, is this volatile enough? Stay on that 3. Right? If it takes you out, it's volatile enough to get you back in. Is what Jim's saying. So hopefully that makes sense. And Houston GDXJ, outside day. Right? So here's the thing about GDXJ. Right? Doing nothing. In general, this thing's doing nothing. Right? All right. So here, if you're lucky on the weekly, this is upper level of that. Sorry, let me get my pointer. It's going Rev Strat. Now it took out. It didn't take out these lows. This is a multiple 2 inside pattern, right? You get murdered in here, right? You get slaughtered in here. The good thing is intraday it moves around. You're gonna get murdered. You get murdered. Guys are getting murdered in here, right? Look at this. You're getting killed. So what you had here, in strat terms, you got them triangle they out, took these guys out, come down, triangle these guys out, but too strong to take that out. Triangle these guys out, but too weak to take that out. Triangle these guys out. Inside day, attempt to triangle them out and coming back up. But when you see all these multiple, you're nowhere near taking this thing or this thing. You're right in here, back in the chop shop. People are getting murdered in here. So intraday, pretty much only. You do have an outside day. If it goes 3-2, you can take a look at it. But people are getting slaughtered in here. Just murdered. And that's the fun part of knowing the strat. You can see where people are just getting destroyed. Just laugh. Yeah, I need it to go on everybody's do not trade list, then we'll step in there. Okay. Nikolai, when price sets a lower low and a higher high, we expect it to come back into the triangle or keep it going further. Yeah, no, we can keep watching that triangle, especially if it's inside on a longer term time frame. Right, because that's how price discovery will work. Right, it's going to do that, as you saw all day on the 1er, and then would go inside on the 5, but yet triangulate. Right, but Nikolai, you need to put together all the time frames. You really got to do that, right? Because one of the things I've noticed, and so Nikolai's talked to me, right? And so one of the things I've noticed is you sometimes you tend to fade back to your old fading ways. Whoa, that's way up there. I want to short it. No, no, don't do that. Make sure that you're lining up the time frame continuity. All right, got to do that. All 3 things matter: time frame continuity, actionable signals as they pertain to the scenarios. All right, and scenario 3, where things lie within those 3s. That's what we really want to know. All right, because you'll see even in the GDXJ, when this thing was up in here, it was bright green and going to new highs. You know who thought that looked good? Everybody. Oops. Shooter 2-2 reversal. Now we're talking because now we're coming back into an old 3, right? You're coming back into a range. Peak. Then you're inside day puker to take them all out, see? To complete that 3 takeout. And don't worry if you don't get this right away, right? You don't have to get it right away. But be aware of it and keep learning because as you saw when we have this volatility like this, that I'm going to show this to you in the SPY 1 minute all day long. Right, and then when we pull it back and look at the monthlies and the weeklies and the dailies, it's like slow motion, right? Heck, even the hourlies and 30s are like slow motion when it's like this, right? Make sense? Okay. Cool. And Frank, can you address when at the top or bottom of a triangle but against time frame counting what you should be watching for? In other words, if we are now at the bottom of the SPY triangle and have full time frame counting the downside, should we handle, avoid, or careful or watch the reverse back up? Well, because the SPY is at the bottom of the triangle, it did its job, right? And by doing its job, what I mean is we took out this low, them. They're gone. Now the question is, are you weak enough to take that out? Right? That's the question. Can you take that out? Right? That could be a tall order. Now you would still have full time frame continuity to the downside on the 60 here for triangle expando. It would just have to keep going because you're coming into lower lows of this, right? But if this goes 60 up, then the day and the 60 are green, right? And that would be in control. So understanding control is always really important. The 60 and daily, because if the monthly and the weekly are going to go back green, the 60 and the daily would have to be green first if there's no gap, right? Could not, right? And Jim, what is the best way to review daily and weekend worksheets to make efficient and effective use of time? Well, what I would say to new folks, look at that, right? I would look at that, start getting to know that, but don't beat yourself up on really ripping through it. You need to understand what it is first, and you're going to understand that through the nightly videos and the daily videos and the course, right? Once you understand what that is, it's a blueprint of what the market really looks like. What are all the setups within the market, right? Because you'll notice when we have big moves and like a simultaneous break, if we had a list out of 15 downs, right, during this, it would be almost everything, and that's what that sheet would look like. Inside 15 down to full time frame continuity, everybody. What direction do you think the market's going down? Down. What direction is the market? It's going down. Everything is triggering to the downside in a simultaneous break. So you'll see that on longer term time frames on that blueprint, right? But first things first, yes, get acquainted with it, know what it is, because it is the blueprint of the market. When people say, I think SPY's oversold or looks like, I don't care what you think. Here's the guts. Here's what everything in there is doing. How many stocks have full time frame continuity to the downside? How many actionable signals are triggering to the downside? That's what's going to tell you whether it's going. So when I talked about earlier about confirming or negating, right? All those things are going to tell you whether these things are going to confirm or negate what we already know to be true. So, Jim, what I would say is get through the course, right? Know the scenarios real well, right? Because that's not that much of a jump from the original course, right? And then what that will help you do is narrow down some of your focus, like we're trying to do, right? Because for some people, it's watching not only just Dow Jones stocks or the gap list or whatnot, it's also watching a certain condition and say, I'm only going to trade Strat 3, whatever it may be, right? Like getting back, like looking like the VRTX and say, I only want something that is the hammer counters outsider because I know that triangle's there, right? Because it's the 3 and the triangles that gives us a real advantage over other traders. They don't know this stuff. And so, you know how many guys I'm sure you've looked at, or maybe you, try and gauge magnitude? They draw their horizontal lines and say that because it's like some box that it's going to go up. No, this is how we gauge magnitude. You take that out, we're going after that because we know things trade in triangles, right? So that's the first thing I would do, Jim, is just look at it, right? Understand what it means, first of all, right? But incorporate it with everything else once you know everything else, if that makes sense. Good. Okay. Are gappers for newbies, Scott, or do you suggest something else? No, gappers are not for newbies. Now, what I would say is don't start jumping in there on 1s and 3s and 5s. You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to do that at all, right? You can stay on the gaps and stay on the 15s, 30s, 60s all day long, and you'll be fine. Because that only gives you 3 time frames to focus on to see if there's any combinations in there. And you can, once they start to set up and you know the bars are about to close out, you can look at those shorter term time frames and say, this is a 3-2-5, and if that triggers that 3-2, it's going to take out that 15 on that gap. You can stay on that all day. No, that's a good way to focus. Because another thing about that, Scott, But I want to be very clear to people. I'm talking and I get excited and you want to get involved and I understand that. But if you stay on the gapper list and it's not, and there's nothing going, don't do anything. It will produce. I promise you that. If you stay on the gapper list every day and there's a day where they gap and sit and don't do anything and the market's moving around and you want to get involved, don't worry about it. All right? Don't worry about that. You focus on that and that's all you do. Right? You go box and all that kind of stuff. Right. And if they gap and sit, so be it. And on a day like today, or when there's earnings and there's a bunch of stuff, yeah, there's a lot to keep an eye on, but you can narrow that down, pretty quickly. And as we saw, like Best Buy, when the market was puking, or was it actually 160 up? And then you're aware of the flip because you're going to the highs. But I mean, you're not making the huge moves, 75, 48, 76, or whatever. But as Brian will tell you, who trades a lot of the gaps, you want to know who in the community does what. When you focus on that, when they gap and go or gap and reverse, you're going to clean house, right? And it happens every day, all right? And if there's a day here or there it doesn't do anything, don't worry about it. But no, all I would say, Scott, is gappers are not for newbies. Just don't get jumping in there and chopped up right out the chute on the 1s and 3s and 5s. On the nightly videos, how can you tell whether you are looking at the long or short side of stocks that you review? What I would tell you is that there might be things we go either way on, right? We'll take this thing either way. But as far as last night, when we look at a Boeing, I'm pretty specific that we're looking at 3-2 off the top of the try, right? I was pretty specific about that, right? And so when I'm talking about it, once again, we want to look at where are we in relationship to the triangles? What day is this, right? Are we coming into the exhaustion of the week? Do we have potential to change? So the weekly Boeing opened at 359.50, right? So when we took this out, 362.21, we're looking for this to change the week back red, right? So when you look at all the time frames, are we going to change anything? Are we full time frame continuity? What is it, right? Make sense? Greg, 15, 30, 60, 5, 60. Yeah. Now you're seeing some, good. So you're seeing some higher volatility where you're going to like some of those fivers. No, whatever you're comfortable with, that's fine. The one thing that I want to stress again, you can't ignore any part of this. You got to know where the triangles are, right? You got to know what the series looks like because that's what makes it work. So when Boeing, and this is what I mean, this is exactly what I mean. So when Boeing goes 3 and comes through here, remember, people like to look at horizontal lines and pivots as a support, which is totally dead wrong, right? We know that, right? So when this thing comes through here, I can stay long against this. Here's my pivot. Boom. I can stay long against my pivot. Bam. I can stay long against my pivot. Bam. I can stay long against my pivot. Bam. Right? Gone. Right? So coming back through ranges is where we can hold longer because we know we're coming after them. If SPY continues downwards the next triangle, if you look at the SPY here like this, we took them out this, right? That's not an outside bar, but that's the next pivot, the low 264.30. All right, that's what we'd have to go after on the daily because we took all these guys out. They're gone, right? And on the weekly, we're already outside. Then you'd have to come after this stuff, right? Yes, pivots are things to get taken out. They're not to get traded against because here we come. Right, control, confirm, conflict, or change. That's it. The course is all in there. So for the gap list, should we ensure time frame continuity in our selection to provide highest probability of success, shorting or going long? Good question. So Jim, what I do is I come on early in the morning. Not that early, but once I get the gapper list, I'll come on and I'll go through them. I go through them right on the opening, right before the opening, and say here's all the pivots that we know about. And if it's going into higher highs or lower lows, I'll say exhaustion risk. Right, but remember the daily and the 60 can be in control, right? So as much as we might, like we said with the 4Cs, we might want to change things back in and start ripping back through a range, all that kind of stuff. But I go through them right before the opening. Today I said the try was complete. What does that mean? What that means is that most likely today we weren't going to be weak enough to take this out, right? This stuff. We got all these guys, right? This is what we were looking for. We're looking to take all this, and hopefully that out, right? We had the try drawn perfect, right where we wanted to be. We knew that, right? So it doesn't mean it can't expand. What it means is we got what we were looking for. Take them all out. Come back through and take them out. Doesn't mean there's not more guys on the 60 and stuff like that. But as far as the daily, by the time we were getting towards the end of the day, we weren't taking these guys out, right? So for now, what we know, this is the internal triangle of the big outside stuff in here, right? Now, the good thing about this is either we triangle expando and try and rip through the lows and take them out, or the bad part would be if we come in here and then rot and go inside, outside, inside weak. But once we're back in here, we can take a shot back up at these guys because remember, former triangle, these things are still live forever, right? So we want to know about this. Getting back into 269.94, we want to know about that. We want to know about getting back into 274.36, we want to know about that, right? But as far as we knew, it did its job. And that means to expand this range. This was the outside bar. It did its job. Took him out to the upside, took him out to the downside. Mission accomplished. Unless the try gets bigger. Okay. And Houston suggested when to take profits trading when check with me. Omaha. Always. And that's what Jim was saying before. Like, check with me. What's going on? Right? Are you coming to a flip? Are you into higher highs or lower lows? Check that PSAR. So one of the things you can do on your own, let's say that Rob's be right back or whatever. And so one of the things you can do, stay on different PSARs. Right? So remember, everything's price and time. So here on the 60 PSAR, short. Are you covering? No. No, just let it rock. And so what you can do, Houston, is juggle around the different PSARs, right? See where they are, right? And what that means is you don't have to use it as a hard stop on shorter term time frames. All that means is that time has passed. And when it hits that, you can reevaluate what do you know to be true, right? Is there still any more on this thing? Is there still any meat not bound? Do I have more pivots to go after? Do I have the other major time frames or signals still involved? Right? But what you can do is like say, okay, here's the 60. That stayed good all day. Puker, look at this. Long off the bottom of the try. Short as we get back in the try, right? So these are great when you get the bigger tries. If you're stuck in here, you get killed, right? But when you got the big try, long. Look at this. It's inside and bottom. 2-2. Long. Oh, I gave some back. Don't care. Short, puker. Right. So what you can do is, like I said, juggle the time frames. How's the 30? 30. And so that one of the things you can see here too, it's like, oh, long, and then triangle they out. You ready? Guess who's getting taken out? All these guys. You know what that's going to cause? That to go here. Peak. Right? So, yeah, just go down to the shorter term time frames, and then when they hit, you can reevaluate. Yes, you can reevaluate. Right. Okay. Since Strat works everywhere, should we newbies only focus on 3-5 stocks a day and jumping around? That's my problem. Yeah, no, definitely. No, definitely. Just because you want to know what you're up against. And so it might be that these stocks that you're watching aren't doing anything. They're going inside day, right? But you know that, right? And it doesn't mean you can't trade it. It just means that you're going to be hit and run. You're going to see a setup and you're going to take it. Right? No question about it. You're not going to PSAR it. You're going to be like Rev Strat 30. As soon as that 30 minutes is up, you're out. I don't care what this thing does. It did what I was. It fulfilled the prophecy. That's what you want to do. If Spy rots inside next week, short VXX, yes. Yes. Good question. Greg asks, is it crucial to enter an exact in force? No. No, because once a monthly kicks in, it's good all month. And so what we're always looking for is combinations. Once something's inside month and up, inside month and down, right? You got all month to go after that thing. As I was speaking about before, confirmation or negation, right? Another signal with full time frame continuity is going to reconfirm that what we already know, right? Right? This thing's inside month and up. Triangle they out, come down, hammer counters outside week, bam, right? And that's what I talk about seeing everything. Yeah, is great. Because what I want to be very clear too is that this is not like normal charting. Like when people say it looks like a cup and handle, this is not a Rorschach test. What we are identifying four separate participation groups by price and time, right? That's why we're always laughing about them and say take them out, triangle them out, because we know who's wrong and exactly where and when and why. Right? You can almost hear them screaming from hell as they smash their keyboards. Right there. Those guys go underwater. Right? That's why it works. Right? Wee. Not because it's a Rorschach test. Right? And there you go, Nikolai. What you want is like your NVIDIAs, the things that are going to move around enough. Right? Did I just hear you say that you have a time exit of a one price bar and a rev strategy on anything, Ken? So we always know what time it is. How much time do you have on this, right? And so one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, they'll look at a chart and it says it looks good, like here. You know how many people said the SPY looked good up here? Everybody. Why? It's green bar going into the new highs. Do you know when you're at risk? New bar. Now, because something going to the highs looks good to everybody, and they'll say that chart looks good. I hope I get a pullback. Here it is, bam! Right? As soon as that thing opens, it takes these out 2-2 reversal and wipes them all out. The best looking chart now becomes the worst looking chart. Now it's a false breakout, right? That's the problem with how people usually chart. They don't realize that what they're looking at can instantaneously go completely to the other side of the range, right? What looks good can now look completely horrible. Right? Now it's the worst looking chart in one bar, right? Make sense? Right. And so, Ken, what I was saying is that I would be very clear on things that if you're trading something that's inside, you're right. It's like you can take that one setup. It's in the course. Take that one setup and just gone. I don't care what this thing does. I'm going to wait for the next setup and something else. Right? This is a 15-minute setup. There's a 5-minute setup. I'm gone. Haven't seen my buddy Elton Jones in a while. He'll be around, but he trades a lot of the IWM, and he'll do a 5-minute triangle. 5-minute triangle. He's like, don't care how far it goes from here, but I know it's going from there to there. If it takes that, I know it's taking it out. And he has this thing ready to cover on the other side of the triangle. He says, see you later. I'm going fishing. All right. If we actionable signal hammer on 15, next 15-minute bar inside, but then next bar is going up, is it still actionable? Yeah, because it's inside bar. And 2-2, or 1-2. The stocks in play is a T3 live thing, not a Rob thing. So you can look at it and evaluate it through the Strat. It means something's going on there. I don't know exactly what that is, but yeah, my email. Feel free for new folks. I like to know who you are because, like I said, I customize it. We work as a team, right? Because once you know this stuff, we're all one big team because we all think the same. That's the beauty of it. It's not a bunch of, he likes the oversold bouncers. No, we we all think the same way. Right? We all think the same way. That's the beauty of it. But once I know who you are, then I can help customize it. There's people who are never going to trade Priceline or Google or anything like that. I know that, right? And because there's people who've worked in certain industries. I'm like, I just trade this because I know the business. I'm like, that's fine. But I got to know it helps me to direct it. So when I'm saying blah, 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 and all this stuff, you hear me talking to the people that I know what they're doing, right? And I say, I know who's definitely got that, right? And I know who's that, and you'll hear me call it Judy, right? I know what Judy does. I know Jim does. I know what a lot of people do, right? Okay. There you go. Fulmer saying just keep short list. And Jim, you're like the stocks in play. The great thing is we know what to do. I don't care what anybody says. Right? Give me a list. Tell me something that's moving around. I know what to do. I'll pull it up and evaluate it. Monthly, weekly, daily, 60, 30, 15, 5. Here's exactly what's happening. Right? Right? Yeah, and a lot of people got that Boeing today. A lot of that was right out the chute. Boing. See ya. The Dow's going to tank. Who's our boy? Besides GE. Yeah, and Glenn, that's why I see a lot of new people just, where's my focus? Where's my focus? And Scott being like, is it okay to focus on the gabbers? You bet. Is it okay to have, like the Boeings and your NVIDIA? You bet. All right? Because at that point, then what happens is what I say becomes more relevant to you. Like I said before, when it's going blah, 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 blah. If you're trading Boeing and I'm talking about the Dow Jones, that's something you want to know about. Right? If you're trading NVIDIA and I'm talking about all the other semis and how their relationship to your NVIDIA, that's something you want to know about. If I say Utes are inside, you go, Utes? Pfft, who cares? Right? You just extract the information, right? T-Mobs. All right. Cool. Whenever people roll in late, it reminds me of the old days. I didn't have a course. I just expected everybody to get this, and the night sessions would go 3 or 4 hours, and people knew that. So they go out to a movie and then come into the night session like 2 hours later. Hey, just got here. You mind if I ask you the same questions you've been answering for 2 hours? I'm like, go ahead. Yeah. What do you think of Apple? Hey. No, if you go back to my YouTube, they're there. I used to put them all out there, and one thing I haven't done in a while, research with Rob. What I used to do every once in a while, maybe once a year, is I'd go through the research of the whole universe, 7 hour video, everything to show you every triangle ever. And I haven't done that in a while because just obvious reasons. Send you focus stocks. You don't have to send me the focus. Just you can type it in and tell me. All right. All right. And you know what's cool, Jim? If you watch them and go back, the triangles played out, didn't they? Oh, no, yeah. You see him going from bottom of top of try with the giant bull market. We trade setups, not stocks, right? And so that you trade setups within the stock. And so what you want to do, if you have a very specific group that you're watching, you got to know the triangles like the back of your hand, right? You are triangling these things like nobody's business. Yeah, man. Well, the REITs can move, man. So sometimes I'm like, get to know your REITs. Good, Jim. Good, 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 good. Right. Well, the utilities at the beginning of the year, that was a different story, right? And the REITs peak, right? And the REITs got a lot of inside years and downers. But you remember the Utes, AEP, it was the beginning of the end. This is pretty nice for a Ute move. Short and yield. The outside monthers, to start off the year, 3-2, puke. 2-2, puke. All right. Not exciting. It's not every day you make $10 off a Ute short. All right. You often talk about keeping a tight leash for stops. Yes, like a penny. But of course, that doesn't work on Amazon, Google, stocks with wide spreads. What's your advice on those very low shared? Yeah, it's just going to be above or below the offer. It should still just go because of the way we're looking to set up. And so, Andy, one of the things when people say they're getting stopped out a lot, they're ignoring the triangles, right? When things go triangling back in, they should just go, right? So all it is using outside of that bid and offer. It should just go. Because you got Agron here, he's trading Tesla all day. He'll do the 2 cent stop. He knows it works. Like, I know it's thick. If I get stopped out, so be it. Right? But because of the set, yeah, right, off the oneer. Because he knows that it's supposed to go. That's what's different from us from other trading groups. These guys have no idea why things go up or down. None. We do. Right? We are using other traders to trigger other traders, and we're using the muscle of time frame continuity. There's no reason to believe it shouldn't work. If it doesn't, we don't want to find out. Right? There's a there's an unknown participant in there that I know I don't want to find out who that is. I don't care. Because when it works, it really works. Because timber, is everybody a seller? They are right there. Boom. Right? House of Cards. Any way to only in your mind, Jim? By sector, yeah, only in your mind. The triangle's the primary thing about the strategy? No, time frame continuity matters. But understanding that this is how price discovery works. Period. There is nothing else. There's no head and shoulders. There's none of that BS. Price discovery works in a series of broadening formations, which I think I've proved without a doubt in the last 2 weeks, right? Because everything, like I said, confirms or negates. So too does a break of a range. You're either going to keep going or you're not, right? And if you're not, you're going to go test the other side, or you're going to pull back and then you're going to continue back up. But everything has to reconfirm or negate. But do you ever hear anybody talk about this stuff? Nobody, right? These guys have no clue what's going on, right? So never look up to anybody that doesn't know this. Don't do that. They have no clue on how price action works. If they're not telling you that this is how it works, they have no idea what they're talking about. Right, right. Moving trainer checks. It looks great, doesn't it? Puke. Not anymore. Don't. Is everybody long? Yeah. Okay, let's go the other way. No, no, that's not true. Market makers are not taking money through the triangles. They're getting chewed up by it too. They don't know. You think somebody's going to go chowing through 500,000 shares to grab your 100 shares? No. They're getting screwed too. That's a common misconception. They're like, oh, the algos. I'm like, seriously? You think these guys chewed through 500,000 shares just to pick off your 100? They're getting screwed too. Because here's the point: is that everybody has a point of reference of where they're right or wrong, right? And they use pivots. We know that. We know that. So once you take them all out, going back to what I said before about triangles complete, we got some pivots, but they're pretty low from there. So probably done for the day. We've shot as many as we probably are going to shoot today. Those guys are a bit distant. We may need to reload before crossing the desert and going killing those guys. All right? Triangles the way we take their money. So. Okay, and thank you, Frank, for helping with Jim. For helping with that, or Yosef. Foreign ETF lots. And there you go. Frank says, if they're going up, we go after these guys. They're going down, we're going after them. Right? Perfect. Cool, cool. Yeah. We get a lot done. We get a lot done. Because you can tell during the day, I have a hard time saying something without calling something out. My mind is just in that mode. My mind is just in that mode. But we can slow it down. And so, like for newer folks, really, let's leave it at this. You got to look at all the time frames. Gotta. Gotta. Don't ask buy or sell. Go look at the time frames. Right, what do you see? Right? What do you see? And then when you have questions about the triangle, you ask me. I'll draw it for you. All right? And narrow your focus. First, just seek to understand. Right? First of all, you got to believe. Right? You got to know that what I'm telling you is true. Right? I think that's pretty clear. Right? It shouldn't be that hard to get that belief into your mind. This is true. What I'm telling you is true about everything. Right? There's no question about it. So therefore, all you have to do is master the execution side. All right? That's a good confidence builder to know that. Because outside of anything else you've ever heard, you have no idea why that would work. No, but he said. Oh, he said. I don't care what he said. This works because of what we're telling you. All right? Because it's indisputable. Right? Got to master the execution. That'll come. Right? And listen to the people who've been with me for a while. Right? You'll see Brian will be like, he won't touch anything if they don't triangulate out. He won't touch it. Not going to go, Momo. Get good at it. How can you get good at drawing the triangles? Well, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. Right? So what you'll see over time and time and time again in the weekend videos, I'll draw them and draw them and draw them. Get as accurate? Well, I know I'm pretty good at it. So, so like I said, mostly you don't have to worry about that. I mean, it's fun and all, but you just got to know when you're ripping back through one, right? That's most important. Know when you're ripping back through one. You get good at drawing them by asking me to do it. I put on quite the clinic in the last few weeks on that, even for me. But it's not that as important as you might believe. Just know when you're coming back through the pivots. Here we come, right? Here we come, and that's when you're looking for measured movers. When you're going back through a previous range. All right, you'll see even on AEP boring. Here, slight lower low. Boom. You want to know about that? You bet you do. Slight lower low. That's when people say, if it goes outside by like a penny, is it still inside? Is that okay? No, that's a triangle. Right? Boom. Two, two, two. We're going to take these guys out. How are you guys doing? Might as well go after them. Any higher high. Right? Yeah, the more pivots, the more better. More losers. I mean, just listen to anybody you've ever traded with before. What are their odds? Moving averages and pivots, right? BS like that. And once again, time frame continuity tells you everybody's on our. The most important thing about what time frame continuity means is like when people say more buyers than sellers is why things go up, and they joke around by that. Obviously, that's not true. What's true is the buyers are more aggressive. They're willing to take the offer, right? That's what full time frame continuity means to the upside. The guys on the 60-minute are buyers, and they're taking the offer. They're not sitting on the bid. They're taking the offer. The guys today, if it's green, they're not just sitting on the bid. They're taking the offer. Same with the week and same with the month. It tells you the level of aggression of the buyers and sellers, right? Everyone's not only a buyer, they're taking the offer, right? That's what we want to know. Triangle breakouts are dangerous? Not necessarily. Not if you go 3-2. No, they just might crank, especially in the opening, right? No, 3-2 is powerful. They might just go. And so the thing about it, Ice, is a lot of people won't touch that because it's already expended both range. They're used to seeing it like in here. You're used to a certain range. You're like, I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole on the short side here. That's exactly when you want to go after it, right there. Bam. So don't be afraid of the 3-2 setup. Because our tight stops are get us out. But if it works, it really works, right? Because you can see this bar was bigger than that bar. And these guys already thought this thing was too huge for a ute. Boom. And the beautiful thing about it, once again, we got back into this one. Right? So when we not only did we take this out, this is a 3-2. This is also a 3. We're going after them too. Bam. Take them out. Yeah, yeah. As soon as SPY was 3-2 on the day, oh yeah, all day long. Get him, boy. 3-2 on the downside. We're going after any possible scenario we can get to keep crushing it. El Puco Mucho, because we're looking to take these guys out. Remember, we're hunting them boys and all the pivot boys on the way down. All right. I think it's oversold. Do you? I think that's a level. Do you? Rebuke, right. I'll give you a level. Meathead. No. Never horizontal levels of support and resistance. Never, ever. That's never happened. Let's all line up let's all line up our buy orders and support it around this pivot. Yeah, okay. Bam. Because another thing you'll see when guys draw horizontal support and resistance, they'll thicken the lines to ignore the higher highs and the lower lows. Oh, it's a general area. Oh, is it? Well, if I'm in there, how come? And then you'll see every once in a while, like when you see the horizontal lines. Look at any chart that if anybody's ever done that, you'll see the wicks and spikes going out through on both sides, forming the triangle. What's that? That's an aberration. Well, that counts because if I was in there, I'm gone. I just got stopped out on your little rectangle. Right? You'll see it. Go look at any chart that when somebody's driven a rectangle, you'll see the spikes outside of it over and over again. All right. Well, I think this has been nice and concise. Over an hour. Sometimes we can go longer, but I like to make it so that we can have marathon sessions if we want, if we need be. So don't worry about it. But I think this is at this point we've pretty concise hour and 15 or so to really drive home some of the important stuff. So why don't we just cut it right here? And we do it every Thursday, so so it's not like this is a one-time thing. Better to get the meat of the move. So all right. So this weekend there will also be the weekend video, also the macro video. And so that's another thing you can use to focus on. The quarterly and the yearly signals. All right, there's some more beef for you to knock it down. Be like, I only want my 1-2 year and I can sit there on that all year. So on that note, welcome new folks. Also on the old folks, the veterans. Thanks for helping everybody too that's new here, because as you can see, as a community, we think the same because the strategy is the same for everything. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you in the morning.